Hey guys, this is Jay Burnham again, and how you guys doing? Want to ask you guys a question. What do you guys prefer? Do you prefer renting Penske or budget truck? Well, today we're going to be talking about the pros and cons versus the pros and cons of each other. Okay, so we're going to be talking Penske versus budget, so stay tuned. Hi guys, this is Jay Burnham, and this is another episode of the Real Jay Burnham Show, and I am so glad you're here. Today we are going to be talking specifically about renting a Penske moving truck versus renting a budget moving truck for your moving business, or if you're just needing to rent a truck for your move. We're going to go into the various different pros and cons, right? Because this is a very needed and wanted. Believe it or not, a lot of us out there, we rent trucks. I rent trucks. I rent budget trucks. I rent U-Haul trucks. I rent trucks for my moves. It's okay. Almost every moving company does at one time or another. Sometimes a truck breaks down. We need to rent a truck, or we got a long distance move. We don't want to use one of our trucks in case it does break down. So this is very good. Or sometimes, a shuttle is needed from a van liner because they can't get a big semi truck into the place where they need to go. So they need to rent a U-Haul or Penske or a budget truck. So it's okay to rent budget trucks. There isn't some weird thing about doing it. Don't let anybody say, hey, or some of these other bigger companies try to bully you because you do rent moving trucks. They do it. We all do it. That's a dirty little secret. They use it against you to try to say that you're not reputable or you're not worthy or you're not a real moving company, so that they can discredit you in some manner so that they can get the move. It's just a dirty tactic. It's a filthy lie, and just don't buy into it. And if you have to, go and expose the people who are saying that for the criminals and losers that they are. All right, so what is going to be best for your moving company? So I thought I would go over the pros and cons of each of the different trucks so that we can go over it. Now, there are some similarities between both Penske and budget. First of all, they're going to be about the same price. You're going to get the same basic price per day and for the mileage. Now, when it comes to the mileage prices, that's just something you're going to have to negotiate with Penske and something you're going to have to negotiate with budget. I've gotten them down as low as 19 cents per mile, but that's because of my particular budget, my particular negotiating skills. I have heard people actually get them down to 10 cents a mile. So maybe I'm just not as good as they are. And I've heard people have to pay as much as 25 cents a mile. So it really comes down to what you can negotiate for the mileage cost. But the daily cost is going to be the same. And if you're going to get insurance with the rental truck, it's going to be right around the same amount of price. There's just no way around it. The only way you're going to make the money or save the money is in the mileage cost. So that's something you're going to have to negotiate. There's no hard set rule on that. I can't really guide you on that because it's going to have to come down to you negotiating. So as far as that goes, they're both the same. There is no difference one way or the other. Okay? But the trucks and the services are different. All right? And we're going to get into that. All right. So let's go over the pros for renting a Penske rental truck. Right? Penske, their trucks tend to be cleaner. They really, inside the cab, inside the box, they really try to go through it. The outside looks clean, and that also leads to the next pro, which the trucks tend to be newer. Yes, every once in a while, at least in my area, we tend to have a fairly new truck. Penske actually cycles their trucks very frequently. I think once they get about 95,000 miles or 100,000 miles, boop, they're selling it off, or close, or right around in that area. So you're looking at a couple of years or two, maybe even max, probably a 3-year-old truck that you're going to be renting. So they tend to be fairly new, and they recycle those trucks. Like I said, it's right around the 100,000 mark. I don't know for exact. I'm not inside the corporation or anything, or make the determination. There might be other determinations of what makes them say, okay, let's sell. But for the most part, the trucks tend to be neat and new, which is a very good thing. All right. The dealers, when you actually go up to the dealers that actually deal the Penske trucks, now this is very different from the actual Penske centers that they have. They actually have centers that you can rent a Penske truck from, and that's okay. But as far as the dealers go, the dealers can't. I've had a hit and miss. I've had a really good experience with a dealer and a really bad experience with a dealer. But for the most part, dealers can be very easy to work with. So be known about that. They'll tend to work with you. So if you're running a little bit short, they'll let you rent the truck anyway and kind of fudge a little bit and make sure that you get the truck. Because especially if you've worked up and you've worked with them a long time and you've established a good relationship, they know that you're good for the money and you're going to pay. They tend to work with you a little bit more, which is awesome. It's great customer service, right? But we're going to get into the con on the reverse side of that. Secondly, as a con, it's easy to set up a commercial account with Penske. All right, it's very easy. All you have to do is call one of their account managers and say, hey, I am XYZ mover. Here's my FEIN or EIN number. Here's my here's my business name, so on and so forth, and it's easy to set up an account. They'll just do it right there on the computer and it'll go. So wherever you are at, you can rent. So like for me, if I'm in Michigan and I set up the account here in Lansing, I could go to a Penske dealer in Detroit, which is a couple hour drive away, and rent a Penske truck from a dealer there, and they'll have all my information. So it's really easy to do it, and they'll have all the information. They'll tell you how much you got to rent per day and what your specific mileage is for the rental. Okay, so it's very, very easy to do that. They don't ask for a lot. They don't ask for your life history or credit or anything like that. It's just set it up, tell them your business, and they'll set up an account for you. At least that's how easy it was for me. Another thing that it is, it's very easy to tow, and this is a big thing because often your customers are going to say, hey, can you tow a car behind the trucks? Or can you haul cars because they've got an extra car and they don't want to drive 2 or 3 cars, or they don't have the ability to do that. It's very easy to attach a car hauler, a Penske car hauler, to a Penske truck. But if they don't have, Penske doesn't have a car, or they don't have, let's say, an enclosed trailer, which they don't, you could go to a U-Haul and actually get an enclosed trailer and put a U-Haul trailer on a Penske truck, and they'll click in just beautifully. They'll match up. It's very easy to do that. So hauling and hooking up trailers that are not Penske trailers to a Penske truck is very, very simple and easy to do, and you don't have to get any kind of special adapters or anything like that. So that's a very good thing. Last thing about a Penske, from my experience, I've driven both Penskes, Riders, Budgets, enterprise trucks, etc. I find that Penske trucks are very easy to drive. Not that they're super hard on the other companies, but Penske just seems to be a little bit smoother. I think it's because they use the Internationals versus maybe a Ford or Chevy or something like that. But they tend to be very easy to drive. The mirrors are set up right. There's not a lot of blind spots on their trucks the way they set the trucks up, which is really, really good. That said, pretty much all trucks are going to drive the same, but I just found that it's easier. The seats are a little bit better. They're a little bit more contoured and a little bit more comfortable inside the cockpit than the other trucks. All right, so that is some of the positives. That's some of the pros of renting a Penske truck. But let's get into the negatives. Let's get into the cons now. Now, I'm going to say, and this is outside of the dealers, this is actually at a Penske place. The customer service sucks. These guys out there, they'll be very nice to your face, but when you turn around, they'll stab you in the back, from my experience. Their customer service is just downright horrible, right? I rented from Penske for a long time. I rented for like several years, and their loyalty to me was nil, right? They actually I moved to a different location, so I went to a different dealer so that it would be a little bit less on the mileage costs and so on and so forth. That dealer was just horrible. And then he lied about this, that, and the other thing. He was complete and utter jerk, right? And so he called up the customer service. He just started renting too, like a month before they just started renting Penske trucks, and got me so that they wouldn't rent trucks to me. I've been renting trucks from Penske for years, right? Because of the dealer that I worked with, had a very good working relationship, and I rented trucks for them. No loyalty to me at all, but they had loyalty to somebody they just set up and had no real experience renting moving trucks, and just completely. So, of course, their customer service is just horrible. And if it breaks down, their roadside service is even atrocious. One time I had rented a moving truck. We had to go down to Atlanta, Georgia for the move. We went down, we did the move. On the way back, the truck breaks down, right? The guys are on the side of the road. They were literally on the side of the road for 12 flipping hours before Penske actually got somebody to go out there and fix the flipping truck, right? Just completely, and I'm on the phone with them, and this is at night, so I've been up all day, now I've got to be up all night, so I'm calling them every half hour on there. Hey, where are you guys at? Where are you guys? What's up? Oh, we're on our way. 12 friggin' hours. And of course, my guys are late, I'm losing money, because now I'm paying guys to be out on the road, right? And it was completely and utterly their fault. And I went up to them. I went to their customer service, to my account manager, and I said, hey, what about a little bit of a discount? Well, no, they charged me double. Not only that, they tried to charge me for it being down because it was broken. They tried to charge me for it being downtime on their trucks. And it was completely and utter. It's not something completely out of our control. Had to do with the engine, something that they hadn't done or hadn't maintained, right? And they tried to charge me for it, and that was the icing that took a cake. And that's when our relationship started going. The dealer I worked with was awesome. She was trying to do everything she could, but the customer service and the roadside service, they were trying to make it my fault, and it was completely, utterly their fault. And I even had them actually recognize it. I actually got an email from these guys saying, yeah, this is our problem. It had nothing to do. I sent it to them, and they still wanted to do it. I ended up winning, but I lost the battle. I won the battle, but I ended up losing the war. So their customer service sucks. So be prepared for that. So if you're going to rent a truck, they're going to do everything in the power to put the blame on you, even when they know it's completely and utterly their fault. And when they take the long time, they just get upset at you. Well, you know what? I'm on the side of the road, on the side of a highway, a busy highway, right, waiting for service that doesn't come for 12 hours. And get this, when we were on the road for 12 hours, the tow truck that finally came was literally 2 miles down the road. 2 miles. And it took them 12 hours to get from 2 miles? Sorry. Okay, maybe they had to go and do grab another truck or something. Okay, a couple hours. Okay, I wouldn't have liked it, but okay, I can see that. It doesn't take 12 hours. That's just complete and utter bullshit. All right? Not only that, when you go to rent out trucks, they want a deposit. And this is true for all moving companies. But in Penske, they want it. Normally, it's the cost of the rental plus half. So it's like 150% of the rental. So if the rental's $100, they're going to ask for 150, right? Not Penske. They want like 300 for your deposit. Well, if you're a small moving company, you're not going to necessarily have $300 to rent a Penske truck every single time you need to rent a Penske truck. Not only that, if you need to rent the Penske truck for more than a couple of days, they're going to ask for like $1,000 deposit. You just can't do that. That's just ridiculous. If you set up an account and you've proved your worth, why are they asking for such amount of deposit? Why are they even asking for deposits in the first place? That's completely horse crap. If you set up an account with a company, it should be, pay for it when you're done. You know, go get the truck, pay for it when it's done. It's really that simple. If you built up the reputation and loyalty, they should say, hey, don't worry, we got you. Don't worry, we know you're good for it. You're going to be here. Not a big deal. That's how a company should operate. Not Penske. They want to charge you like 2 or even 3 times. Right? Secondly, they're going to want to continually raise your prices. So if you've set up an account with them and you've negotiated your mileage and everything, they're going to want to up the mileage like every 3 months. They're going to give you a call. Well, we need to raise. Well, and you know what I do with them? I said, well, you can definitely do this, but I'll tell you what I'm going to do. The moment you raise the prices, I'm going to budget. I'm going to go to rider. And man, that shuts them down. That just shuts them down right there. You know, you raise your prices, I'm moving off to another truck where it's going to be, I can get the price that I need to survive and make a profit. And then they, you know, so basically it's a salesperson trying to up it so that they can get a little bit more of a commission. And that's all it is, right? It comes down to the greed of your account or the salesperson. They don't need to be charging you hand over fist. They just don't. And they know that they don't, right? I do agree that every couple of years they might need to raise it a couple cents or a couple pennies, maybe a nickel. I could see that, you know. I could see, you know, as the prices go up or inflation goes up, they need to raise the account. But they don't need to call you every 3 or 6 months, every 3 months or 6 months and say, hey, we need to raise it. The prices aren't raising that much. They're just trying to get a little bit more. Now, don't get me wrong, they're running a business. I understand. But they're not losing money from you, especially if you're renting as much as I have rented. You know, I'm consistently renting. They don't need to be doing that. Another thing is if you rent a Penske truck and you get their insurance, like their full cover insurance, which this has happened to me several times. I remember one time a guy was driving down the road. He wasn't paying attention, smacked into a tree and busted the mirror out, the passenger side mirror, because it was after a storm and the tree had come down, I think, and he just wasn't paying attention and he smacked the tree and he broke the mirror. Okay, fine, that's on us, but that's why we get insurance, right? So we send it in, we say, hey, the truck broke, we apologize, you know, let us know. We get insurance. Now they want to, the insurance is supposed to cover this, right? But now they want to charge me extra. They want to charge me for downtime. It took them a week to fix a mirror. So they wanted to charge me for every day that truck was down. So they'll charge you downtime outside of what you get for insurance. That's what insurance is for. That's why you get, well, insurance doesn't cover downtime. Then what's the purpose of getting insurance? Well, the insurance is to fix the mirror. Right, and part of fixing the mirror is downtime. And if you guys didn't sit on your ass to fix a flipping mirror, it wouldn't have been down so long. So you get where I'm going with. So their customer service is horrible. When it comes right down to it, it's their customer service and the customer loyalty to somebody's it's completely gone. You know, it's horrible. It's just completely, utterly horrible. They're going to do everything to make you wrong and to make themselves right, even when they're forced with it. And as far as anything else, they're unwilling to work with you when something does go wrong. So that's my assessment on the cons for it. But so let's go into the budget trucks now. All right. Now here's the thing about budget trucks. The budget trucks, when you rent here's some of the pros. When you rent the budget trucks, they come with E-rail. And for you movers, this is awesome. If you got the straps like the big semis do, they call it E-rail straps, and you should have some. You should buy E-rail straps if you don't have any. When you use a budget truck, you can use those E-rails. And those E-rails make the strapping up things in the truck so much easier than ratchet straps you get from Home Depot or Lowe's or Wally World or wherever you're getting them, or Menards, which are complete junk if you get them from Menards. And Harbor Freight, forget about it, as they would say in New Jersey. You know, you just don't want to use, you know, obviously you're going to have to use ratchet straps for most of your truck rentals. But budget comes with the E-rails, and the E-rail straps are top notch and definitely something you want to keep around. Okay, so just keep aware of that. So that's an awesome thing. Most of the budget trucks are very fuel efficient, and they come with a little tank for DEF, or DEF is what I call it, which stands for diesel exhaust fluid, and it basically helps recycle the exhaust fluid and turn it into a combustible fuel that can be used again. So basically, it helps to recycle the diesel exhaust. So the gas thing. So the budget trucks tend to be very fuel efficient. I find that they get a little bit better gas mileage than the Penske's, U-Hauls, etc. They get like 11 or 12 miles to the gallon versus a typical 10 miles to the gallon. All right. So another thing that I've had very good success with the dealers. The dealers are always willing to work with me, always willing to help me out. The problem with that, and we're going to get into the thing, is the dealers always had a hard time dealing with the management or the budget themselves. Anyway, we'll get into that in the comments. But the dealers tend to work with you. I've never had anything but good experiences with the actual dealers, right? So that is awesome. I've never been in a place that actually never been a place that I've seen so far where you actually have a budget renting center. Like U-Haul will have their own center. Penske will have their own center. Budget doesn't. They deal through dealers completely. For the most part, the dealers I've worked with have been awesome to work with. I do know of one dealer that's on the west side of my town in Grand Ledge. That's just a complete utter jerk. But they're complete utter jerks regardless. They are just complete buttholes. And you know they've been almost done bankruptcy like 3 or 4 times. So anyway, but that's them, and that has nothing to do with the rentals themselves. But the dealers tend to be very easy to work with. The trucks, again, it's very easy to set up a commercial account like Penske with budget. It's just you just talk to an account manager and they'll work with you. So that is very easy. It's very similar to the budget process. But you don't have to give an arm and a leg. You don't have to sign over your life. You don't have to sign leases. You can just set up an account, and that account will follow you to any of the budget truck areas, which is really, really cool. And that's, I think, very beneficial. So if I need a budget truck, I can go to any budget truck in the United States, and my account will be in the computer. And I'll have my prices and so on and so forth. All right, so here's something. Now let's get into the cons of budget truck, and there are more cons with budget. We'll go over it. So budget has a weird thing. The more you drive, the more you rent, the more they want to charge you, which is completely backwards. You don't want to give the guy who's giving you a volume of service and charge them more than you would charge someone who's going to rent on a daily basis, that just rents once or rents for a long distance. You don't want those are the guys you charge a little bit more on. Those one time. It actually costs more to rent a truck for one day than it does to rent a truck to a moving company or something like us for a few days or a week or whatever. It costs them less to rent to us than it actually does to the one person who's going to just drive it once, right? It just doesn't make sense. The guy who's going to drive once, that's when you charge a little bit more. That's when you add the premium on. It's not the guy who's going to give you the volume that you want to increase the prices on. And budget is completely backwards. And I was actually told by my account manager that they had consultants who never ran a company, who never drove trucks or anything, tell them how they should be charging for the trucks. And this is completely backwards. This philosophy is completely backwards from any of the other rental truck companies. Just completely backwards. You don't get that from U-Haul. You don't get that from Penske. You don't get that from Ryder. You don't get that from Enterprise. So they're doing something completely backwards than every other moving company. And Budget has been on the verge of bankruptcy several times. I think they were actually I think Penske or U-Haul or some were actually in talks at one point to actually purchase Budget because Budget was just failing, right? And we're going to get into the cons, and you're going to probably see why. Their customer service sucks. Remember, I told you earlier in the pros that the dealers are worked with? But guess what? They hate working with the dealers. The dealers actually have to pull teeth to get them to service their customers, right? I can't tell you how many times I couldn't have a truck because Budget decided that they weren't going to have any trucks in the area. What? Why not? Well, we needed trucks over here. But what about your loyal customers and the accounts that you have? Well, they'll have to go somewhere else. That's completely BS. And then they actually, here's another con, which is later on the list, but they don't accept debit cards. You have to, when you do it, you can do a credit card, but not a debit card. And you can do your deposit in cash or credit card, but not a debit card. They don't accept debit cards for a deposit. What ridiculousness is that? I can give you cash, but I can't give you my debit card? You can take a credit card, but you can't take my debit card? That's just completely insane. In what universe is the color of the sun? What color is the sun in your universe? Right? Also, management, like Penske, continue trying to raise prices. Like I said earlier, you know, the more you rent, the more you drive, the more they want to charge you. But not only that, they want to continually, like, I get a call almost once a month from Budget where they want to raise the rates of my mileage. And I'm like, I have to say no. We agreed that I was going to pay this amount, and that's the amount I'm going to pay. If you decide you want to change that, then I'm either going to go buy a truck and not rent from you guys at all, or very little, or I'm going to go to some other company that's going to rent to me cheaply. And you know what? Again, they back down. I don't know what's in their head, but when it comes to charges, they have no clue on how to think. And then they wonder why they're running out of money and people aren't renting, right? Secondly, their trucks are poorly maintained. Like I said, like in the Lansing area and none of the other cities that in the near vicinity of Lansing, is there any kind of center that actually fixes Budget trucks? There's no place, no central location that you could rent a Budget truck that's Budget owned, right? They deal with all dealers. And then they got several dealers that will fix the trucks. So there's no central location. There's no control on the maintenance of these trucks. So one dealer that does do maintenance on the trucks might be very, very good, but another dealer that maintains the trucks might be horrible. So the trucks are not maintained well. U-Haul maintains their fleet better than Budget trucks. So this is really bad. So you got to kind of, when we rent the trucks, I always make sure we check the fluids, we check everything, because even though you're renting the trucks and the dealers are supposed to make sure all the fluid levels are fine, you know, sometimes that just isn't the case. So they're poorly maintained. Not only that, their trucks tend to be really old and rickety. I can't tell you the times I've had the troubles with the ramps. Windows didn't work. There was holes in the boxes. It was just, we rented a truck one time and there was no rear lights. None, zero, none of the front. The headlights worked, the turn signals in the front of the truck worked, but the rear lights didn't work. And they rented the truck to me like that. You know, and it's like the trucks are just older and they're hard driven. You know, I mean, and the interiors are like unkempt. They don't really try to maintain the interiors. And again, that comes down to the dealers too. Some of the dealers just don't care. They could care less whether it's swept out in the back or whatever. I can't tell you I've seen Budget trucks with broken boards and floorboards broken and oil stained and just whatever. Anyway, it's just really horrible. Not only that, you can't, unlike a Penske truck or U-Haul truck, you can't attach anything but a Budget trailer to it. You've got to go through a special thing. They got a weird plug-in for it. And if you got to do it, you got to go and there's no adapters that you can buy to switch it out. So you got to actually go and make your own adapter, which I have done, so that you can have a 4-prong adapter for most of the trailers. Or one of the other kind of typical adapters. I've actually had to go and make my own so that I could have the right adapters to just generic trailers, which was just, and I've just, used, wire nuts and then taped them with, electrical tape so that they wouldn't get exposed to the weather. And I keep these, and they're handmade adapters so that I can use different trailers. So if I need to rent a covered trailer from U-Haul, I can rent a covered trailer and have the right adapter, right? Otherwise, you got to make them. You can't buy them. There's no way to buy them, which is ridiculous, right? Right. And like I said, they won't take the debit cards, which is ridiculous. I don't understand that at all. But that's some of the pros and cons of renting. That said, I tend to rent budget trucks over the Penskes, and the reason comes out is even though both of them have poor customer service, I find that the customer service from budget trucks tend to be a little bit better than Penske. It's not great, and I've had horrible experiences when trucks break down from both of them, but I found that budget actually does a little bit better job than the Penske trucks. The Penske trucks are just horrible. It breaks down. It's basically, just even if you have insurance, you're on your own pretty much. Budget trucks, they actually try to make an effort, and that I can work with a little bit, but none of them are going to work with you. Even if the truck breaks down, they're not going to help you out. They're not going to give you a break on your next rental. They're not going to take a little bit money off. As a matter of fact, Penske actually tried to charge me double the next time I rented. Why? Because I yelled at their customer service because their customer service had their heads up their ass. So they tried to charge me double for that. And if they do, then, you're well within your rights to go to social media and make some sort of idea. And I did. And that's another reason why they didn't like it. And that's one reason why they don't. And believe it or not, about 2 months ago or a month ago, I forget how long ago it was. But Penske actually goes, "Hi, we wanted to know when you're going to rent trucks from us again." And I just laid into them. You're going to treat me like crap. Don't expect a good response from me. All right. So that said, this is just some of what I have found is their pros and their cons. Hopefully, that said, you guys can get a good idea from the rental trucks. Rental trucks, it's a necessary evil, if you will. And if you don't own your own trucks, they're more expensive than they really need to be. The obvious scene is to go and buy your own trucks. In lieu of that, definitely rent trucks. Also, I suggest if you got an older truck that's not that reliable, that you rent trucks for your long distance moves, that you rent like a Budget or a Penske for your long distance move. Obviously Penske's going to do a little bit better driving wise and ease wise for your long distance moves than a budget truck, but the budget trucks are a little bit, if something goes wrong, they're going to be a little bit easier to work with. So you got to I'd rather work with somebody a little easy. I could really care less about the comfort level so much as the comfort level of when things go wrong. So that said, that's my particular opinion on it. I don't know what yours is. Let me know in the comments what you prefer. I'd like to hear some of the good and the bad, the pros and cons from each, if you've rented either of the trucks, okay? So leave me a comment below. Let me know. Give me a thumbs up if you thought this video was worthwhile. If it wasn't, give me a thumbs down. That's okay, too. I still love you. Make sure you share this with all your family and friends. And please, folks, subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys later. Have a great day. Bye-bye.